Welcome to Voice Rising with Kara Johnstad. Enjoy weekly conversations with leading luminaries, pioneering visionaries, singers, poets, musicians, and sound healers, as we explore the profound role our voice plays on the path to self-realization and global enlightenment. The internationally acclaimed singer, composer, author, healer, recording artist, voice expert, creator of Voice Your Essence, and founder of the School of Voice, Kara Johnstad uses her extraordinary spiritual gifts to empower others. Everything in this world vibrates. Everything has a frequency. A pioneer in the field of voice work and transformational songwriting. Her breakthrough methods are helping thousands of people worldwide fine-tune their body, mind, spirit system and unlock the energetic frequencies of limitless creativity, health, and abundance. Share your voice, ask your questions, join in the conversation. Receive life-changing, positive transformation and rise together to create a sound world. And here's your host, Kara Johnstad.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Voice Rising. With me in the studio today is Dr. Sue Morter. She is a speaker, author, and master of bioenergetic medicine, bridging science, spirit, and human possibility. Dr. Sue teaches us how to utilize high-frequency energy patterns and activate our full human potential. She's founder of the Morter Institute, an organization committed to teaching individuals self-healing techniques and a new approach to a life based on quantum science. Welcome, Dr. Sue, to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a great joy to be here and share these concepts with everyone. So, my pleasure.
So I'd love to start in a comfortable place. I have no idea what your childhood was like, but as kids, we often love to sing and babble and make wild sounds. Can you share with us what your memory is of voice and of just sounds in general as a kid?
So interesting. I actually was horrifically shy. As a kid, I slept on the floor of my closet growing up. I was just pretty intimidated about life. And so I was rather silenced for many, many years. I would, however, spend a lot of time in nature, and I became very acclimated to the sounds and the frequencies of the babbling brook at my feet and the birds and the wind in the trees, etc. And so sound became a very big part of my comfort level in that way. I later in life had a major awakening, and everything transformed in an instant. But early on, I was pretty quiet and shy. In fact, people who knew me then and people who know that I'm traveling the world and speaking to 100,000 people live and, at an event, can't believe what they see and hear because of the complete other end of the spectrum that my life has become.
Yeah. Was the turning point for using your voice to author books, to speak in front of hundreds of thousands of people? Was it that energetic awakening point, or did it happen did it happen a little bit at a time where you trusted that true voice, that your true authentic voice?
I remember as I was going through school, and my father was a pioneer in energy medicine. In fact, the only health care that I've ever had has been natural health care. I've never gone to the doctor and taken an antibiotic in order to heal a remedy or heal an illness based on a remedy from something administered externally. And so as I was developing professionally, graduating from school myself and setting up my own clinic, I began teaching for his seminars that he was teaching doctors around the world about natural healthcare means and using energy for healing. And I was terrified to speak at his events. I would stand behind the podium and just kind of cringe and hide and stutter all the time, etc. And as I as I set up my own practice and began working, I was recognizing this internal stress that I felt and sought out a way to shift that. And I was drawn to meditation. And I was actually in a meditative practice early on in this meditative practice, chanting some Eastern chants in Sanskrit. Then I was brand new to it, didn't understand the words or hadn't articulated these sounds together before. Chanting sounds of the Mother Divine and repeating them as a chant does, which kind of trances the mind a bit. And I had this tremendous awakening at that time. So it was actually vibrationally induced with my breathing patterns and the sound frequencies that were moving through my body, with my sincere, deep focus on how to find the self. I was just claiming a moment for myself for the first time ever, really, in my life. And all of those ingredients combined opened my consciousness to other realms in an instant. Immediately following that, my voice changed. It dropped about an octave, and I started speaking from a different place inside my body I could feel. And the words that came through me were also of a different selection. They just happened to piece themselves together differently. And it was right after that, in pretty short order, that I found it easier to be around people, albeit it took me months to integrate the opening that had happened. But once I started engaging in life again, I noticed that change came pretty easily. And my willingness, my desire to speak with people and to teach and to share what I was realizing and what I was awakening to became much bigger than any previous intimidation that had been really governing my life experience. So as it began to change, it changed really quite rapidly.
Beautiful. You work a lot with a breathing technique, which is, I would say, core, anchors us to this core alignment. When I work with voices, I would say the voice is also very much in this alignment. The vocal folds are right over the heart, right between our mind and our heart, and anchor to the root. Can you share with us a little bit about, is this your signature breathing technique? I mean, this is one of the main techniques, because I have watched you teach this. Is it the technique that is very important for you, for us all to anchor and connect all our energetic layers that we have?
There is a foundation to the work that I'm teaching along the lines of the breathing aspect, which is a central channel breath. There is an Eastern term called the Sushumna, which is the central core channel of the body that runs from above the head down to the center of the brain and the center of the throat and the center of the heart and the center of the solar plexus into the center of the belly and the tip of the spine, and drops all the way to the earth. There is a line of energy that is actually anchoring us as the truth of who we are. It is our foundational ray of light frequency. And so the Sushumna is, within the physiology, the central core of that line, and running vertically up and down through the body. And so, yes, I have many breath techniques that I'm using, but that is the foundation of them all. They are each offspring of that main central channel breath. The various breathing patterns that I work with people to retime and resequence their systems and align the mind with the body through the breath, and allowing this reintegration of our wholeness that can occur when we are dropping our attention into the core of the body and learning how to breathe to animate that area. And it creates a collection of energy that is called photon density, but it gathers energy in a more concentrated fashion up and down the central core of our body. And when that is being animated, it is giving our subconscious a sense, a greater grounded sense of who we are. And so as our come from is stabilized in this way, our fight or flight decreases, our ability to be present in a creative sense increases, our health and immunity increases, our vitality improves, all because we're kind of gathering ourselves back together from a dispersal that I call the great splat. When we land here, we just kind of, it's a rough landing into this world, into this realm, and our mind goes one way and our body goes another, and our breath is kind of disconnected from the whole thing. And throughout the course of our lives, our job is to gather ourselves back again, to collect and to integrate mind, body, breath, and spirit in the body is the breath in the body. So to allow that integration to occur, I work with some foundational anchor points, getting people to anchor their consciousness in the core of the body as they begin to breathe up and down through this central channel, which is the initial impetus of this transformative way of living, from being externally oriented to being internally driven and motivated and inspired. And so I guess the short answer would be yes, that is a foundational breath that I use in working with people.
I mean, the fascinating thing is that obviously it brings the nervous system or the connection of the body, like you said, we're coming out of the fight, freeze, flight, reactionary place and into a different state of consciousness, or where I would say we can respond and not necessarily react. We are living in incredibly challenging times in the moment. We are in the midst of a global pandemic, and we are experiencing protests all over the globe. Thousands of people are raising their voices, and they are addressing issues of systemic racism with so much trauma and pain that is being released. It is easy to find ourselves very emotional and out of balance. How can we ground ourselves in the present moment and use some of these energetic codes, the energy codes, to help us stay in balance?
Yes. Yeah. I first would love to say that at this most amazing time that we are experiencing, that it is so important to realize that there is an awakening that is happening through all of this, and that the more we can soothe ourselves into realizing this is part of something greater than its appearance in and of itself, that we allow the flow to maintain through our life experience and still give rise to a voice that's been suppressed, and still reevaluate in what ways have any of us been suppressing ourselves and suppressing one another unconsciously, and how can we begin to evaluate this in a manner that is palatable, that is also palpable, and that is effective. And one of the things that I find that is so valuable is for people to realize that when we live in our heads trying to analyze or predict or to protect ourselves or life, we tend to negate living deeper in the core aspect of our entire being, and we become compromised because of that. That we live just in the mental body instead of in the physical body or in our wholeness. And so by anchoring ourselves back into the physical body on a regular basis throughout the day, we automatically enhance our ability to benefit from the filtering process that the physical body offers our consciousness. The physical body acts as a filtering presence that allows us to translate cosmic and universal vibrations and frequencies and intelligence into images and impressions and gut feelings and nuances that guide us into what is wholly right and true for us. And when we live just in our mind field alone, just in an untethered mind, base, we have a tendency to live and operate in a place of duality, because the mind's job is dualistic. It's to determine and make distinctions and see the differences in things. But when we tether the mind to the body, the heart is now influencing the mind, and the heart's job is to find common ground in things. It's magnetic, whereas the mind is electric. And when we allow the magnetic and the electric to work together, we become a fully functioning electromagnetic presence on the planet. To do so, it's easier to do from living in the whole body rather than just living in our heads. And we can use a physical action to help facilitate that. So when we're living in our body, we're attracted to different kinds of thoughts, different ideas and impressions occur to us because of being able to utilize these. There are 11 billion bits of information that are bombarding our system every millisecond. And if we're living in our heads, we cannot possibly translate them, because the mind alone can process only about 11 pieces of information at once, and really only one at a time at the end of the day. So the body receives the information at the level of the gut, and that information gets translated through the gut and the brain in the gut into chemistries and nerve impulses, etc., that then rise up through the heart, and there's a brain in the heart that then translates that information into what I reference as human consumption. The way that a divine human would be operating on the planet would be love-based. And so these nuances and energies that are rising up through our system get filtered through love before they rise up through our primitive brain and into our high executive centers for creativity. And so as we begin to integrate them by coming down into the body, which I can share a technique that would allow everyone to have a bit of an experience of what I'm speaking about, what it does is allows us to begin to benefit from these 11 billion bits of information that are arriving at our gut. They don't arrive straight to our head. They come in at the gut level and are translated, and they are birthed into a new form by the filtering system of the body. So the more we are anchoring our consciousness in the core of the body, the more the body can serve to filter and anchor and translate that information into something usable, something that is beneficial, something that has solution to it rather than just concern. And so by doing so, we breathe a little differently, but we also are using the musculature of the body to help hold us, like tethering a helium balloon. We would need a string to be tied off to something so that the balloon was stabilized and steady in one place. So if there's time, I'd love to, in our conversation today, share some of that.
Yeah, we'd enjoy that. Let's take a small station break, and then we will be back, and then we would very much enjoy learning that technique.
Wonderful.
We're back in a couple minutes with Dr. Sue Morton.
The cutting edge of conscious radio, OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at OMTimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hi, this is David Strickle. I'm excited to share my brand new show, The Stream of David Live, right here on OMTimes Radio. Each week I'll have exciting guests and I'll channel the eternal wisdom of the stream, a group of non-physical entities whose teachings have transformed lives all over the world. So join us for an uplifting hour each Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern. That's The Stream of David Live right here on OMTimes Radio.
With happy clients all over the world, Kara Johnstad knows that your voice is the missing link to more authenticity, abundance, creativity, and health. An internationally acclaimed voice expert, Kara's breakthrough methods have helped thousands of people successfully heal their voice wounds and extinguish the story of self-doubt and shyness forever. Join in group trainings, attend online sessions, schedule one-on-one time, and invite Kara to work with your organization and community. Get started today. Go to www.karajohnstad.com and receive a special guided meditation designed to fine-tune your inner voice and welcome you on the voice journey.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Voice Rising. I'm your host, Kara Johnstad, and with me in studio today is speaker, author, and master of bioenergetic medicine, Dr. Sue Morter. Sue, we left off right when you were going to share with us a practice that you do. So I would really enjoy listening more to how we can integrate this into our daily practice.
Wonderful. So what I love about this work is that we're able to do it while moving about during our day. While you're initially wanting to learn these practices, it's great to just sit in a quiet space, but know that the practices are intended to be utilized while you're engaging in your day, because ultimately we want to build more neurocircuitry to be able to manage life, not only survive it, but to creatively, masterfully generate the life experience that we're looking to have. And that is a circuitry issue. If we do not have the circuitry, the neurocircuitry synapsing in place to be able to be confident or to self-heal or to step out into our innovations and our ingenuity, then those things are more difficult for us to do. If we're not able to do them, it is because we don't have the circuits hooked up to do it. They're there, they're just not turned on. So what we're doing is using the breath to animate an energy system, as the energy system built the nervous system. And so if we work with this master system, we're able to generate, carve a pathway through the jungle, if you will, to be able to establish more neurosynapses in accordance with energy moving. Everything is energy, and it has to be moving freely through our system if we want to be masterfully here completely, because we are made of energy, and we are compressing ourselves into the physical form so that we can navigate here in this dimension. So what we're doing is enhancing the part of us that is truly here as the creator, the innovator part of us. It runs up and down this central Sushumna through the core of the body. One of the things that we can do just generally is to squeeze our shoulder blades together, which opens up the front side of the heart, and then drop the shoulder blades down. And as we do that, it automatically opens up this space below the shoulder blades and below the heart even, that allows us to breathe in the lower belly instead of breathing in the upper lobes first. When we breathe in the upper lobes of the lungs, we are activating fight or flight. We're initiating action without necessarily any purpose other than our basic foundational purpose of surviving as a physical being. And so when we breathe in the lower lobes of the lungs, we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is what calms us down after the bear is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And by breathing in the belly, we're oxygenating more of the bloodstream more quickly because there is a greater vascularity in the lower lobes of the lungs. So oxygenation to the bloodstream happens faster, which also signals to the nervous system that all is well, that we can calm down.
Mm-hmm.
So we're breathing in the belly and with the shoulder blades together and down. If we utilize an anchoring at the tip of the tailbone that is called Mula Bandha, which is simply anchoring us. It literally means root lock. Mula Bandha means root lock, and it means locking our consciousness at the base of the body, anchoring us, tethering. So it is the equivalent of if you were going to the bathroom and you had to stop the stream quickly. There are certain muscles you would contract in order to do that. It's also like a Kegel exercise, if women are familiar with that. But anyone can do this, and it's simply contracting the muscles at the base of the perineum, the base of the pelvic bowl. When we contract them just for a moment, it anchors the consciousness there. It pulls us down all the way into the deep core pelvic region. It's similar to this. If someone was sitting and I asked you to move the toes on your left foot, I would know that you were moving down into your body in order to do that action. To receive the information, to make the decision, to cooperate with it, puts us in an embodied state where we're literally moving into the situation. So this is doing something similar at the base of the pelvic bowl. We know that the consciousness is moving here into this space as we're contracting the muscles. It brings energy to that area. The more energy, the more awareness, it combined, it begins to elicit consciousness being able to animate parts of our body that we tend to just leave behind. So if we contract these muscles at the base of the pelvic bowl, this is called Mula Bandha, contracting those and breathing in the belly, not in the upper lobes of the lungs, and pulling the shoulder blades just gently together and down. Then if as an upper body activation, an anchoring point, if you would just keep your nose pointing straight forward but roll your eyes up, you can feel some tension behind your eyes. And the tension behind your eyes is right in front of the area of the central opening in the center of the brain that is part of the ventricular system. The third eye is there, the pituitary is there, the thalamus and the hypothalamus is there. In the Eastern culture, it's referenced as the cave of Brahma. This ventricular system is paramount in producing cerebrospinal fluid, nutrients for the brain, etc. We can have an influence on this vibrationally, energetically, as we anchor there as well. So if we were to draw a line between this tension behind the eyes, just roll your eyes up and feel that. And then you can bring your eyes to neutral, but memorize that place in the brain inside the center of the skull, in the head, where you could feel something there, that tension behind the eyes. Then relax your eyes, but drawing a line down from that place of tension behind the eyes to where you're squeezing your shoulder blades together just behind the heart, and then contracting this Mula Bandha, and contract them all at the same time. This is bringing us into an alignment in the central channel of the body. If you were to drop a line from behind your eyes through your heart into the pelvic bowl, that line is where we should be living from. We should be anchored there, feeling ourselves in the body in this way all the time. Now, to breathe through that central channel is the most significant piece of it. So as if you had an opening in the top of your head, imagine that you are breathing in from above your head, in through the center of the brain, through the center of the throat, into the heart space, in the center of the chest, into the belly, into the pelvis, where we're squeezing this Mula Bandha, and then exhale into the earth beneath where you're sitting. And then take an inhale up from the earth beneath where you're sitting, into the pelvis, into the belly, into the heart, and then exhale from the heart, up through the throat, up through the center of the brain, and out the top of the head. And then inhale, again, from overhead, right down again through the center of the brain, just repeating here, into the throat, into the center of the heart space, into the belly. And then exhale down through the pelvic bowl, down into the earth, 2 feet beneath where you're sitting, just toward the earth, or even deeper in toward the center of the earth, whatever your consciousness would tend to want to do there for anchoring. Then take a breath up from in the earth. And there are energy centers that comprise our invisible self that are 2 feet beneath where our physical body stops. Breathe up from there into the belly, and then anchor the shoulder blades again. Roll your eyes up, and then exhale from the belly up through the heart, up through the throat, up through the center, activating our creatorship here, which is an entire quantum flip from just trying to be able to handle what life is giving us. We see that what life is giving us is an opportunity for us to begin to generate a new idea, to activate and animate our own potentiality. And by breathing up and down through this central channel, we start to animate all of the levels of our filtering system called this physical body, and to allow them to work together so that we're not just sometimes wise and sometimes powerful and sometimes loving and sometimes creative or sometimes able to speak our truth or to manifest, but that we have access to all of these tools all of the time so that they're working in symphony with each other instead of simply activating one aspect of our wholeness at a time in order to be, a better reactor in life. So
powerful.
As we begin to do this central channel breath, I tell people that if you're driving down the road and you're upset about something that's happening at work, or you're upset about something that's happening at home, or you're fretting about these times in our lives and don't really know what's coming next, and you feel yourself becoming uneasy about that to just anchor at this Mula Bandha level at the base of the pelvic bowl, and squeeze your blades and start breathing in your belly. And then when you can, begin to animate that by breathing up and down this central channel. It begins to change that in an instant. This fear-based come from when we're contemplating what's going on in our world and how we're going to manage, and how and when and if things will return to something that feels, a little more comfortable for us. Even just doing the Mula Bandha at the base of the pelvic bowl, the thing that is squeezing those muscles that would stop the stream, or that's similar to a Kegel exercise, just doing that alone will stop your ability to get so caught up in the drama or the trauma that we're even inducing by our own pontification, our own projections into what might happen or what could happen, or worst case scenarioing, that we become so quick to pick up as a disposition. That is made nearly impossible when we anchor ourselves in the body in this way. Now, there's more to it that I'd love to add, if we have the time, that I find very beneficial and is actually what the energy codes, the work that I'm teaching, is all about. But this central channel breath is definitely foundational to being able to find ourselves coming from the inside out, from our deep core truth, from our true essential self, versus operating from our protective personality, or the false self, or the ego, or the fear-based story writing mind alone.
Right. Powerful, Sue. Thank you. My question, I guess, coming from being a speaker and a singer, is the throat is a powerful chakra and is connected to our first chakra. What is your personal experience with the energetics of the throat chakra, which is nestled and dwells right there between the heart, the heart chakra, and our third eye? I mean, when we sing, we're also activating the third eye.
So it's a beautiful connection, and something that is also deeply rooted in our deep core wisdom, which is at the second chakra level. It is interrelated with all of the chakra system as I see it. When I'm working with people in a little more involved setting, I bring that as a fourth anchor point into the work. So the first one being at Mula Bandha, and the second one being the shoulder blades anchored and down, and the third one being rolling the eyes the way that we've described them up, so that you can find that tension behind the eyes and drop a plumb line right down through that central channel. As I begin working with people next, the very next thing that I do is have them breathe with Ogive Breathing, or to constrict the throat just enough that they can start to feel their breath moving through their throat, because it allows the consciousness to find this very special place as well. The throat chakra is also not only our voice in the world, but it also allows us to hear and to perceive the signs that are constantly guiding us through our lives, and to be able to perceive and to listen as life is only ever guiding us is also an action of our ability to manifest, which is the throat chakra. Our ability to manifest ourselves here as sound, vibration, and frequency is through the heart combination with the throat chakra, and the bridge between our third eye and our ability to show up as a loving presence on the planet is housed right here in the throat chakra. So the sounds that we can identify and hear through the breath alone, much less the chanting and the toning that and the singing that literally sets us free, is this connection of the filtering and the integration of each of them. So by squeezing the throat just a little for this particular exercise, it allows us to feel ourselves, because we truly are the breath. We are the breath in the body. If we leave the body for good, the breath leaves the body for good. And so spirit in the body is the breath, as I'm working with it in attempting to assign a language to something that is really actually nearly unspeakable. But the more that we utilize the sound, tone, vibrational frequency through the throat when anchoring in these other three anchor points, the more we begin to allow this entire harmonic instrument to be filtering all of the levels of consciousness that we are here to master. So I work with having people just gently squeeze that and maybe breathe like the Darth Vader type of breath, this Ogive breathing, so that they can feel the vibration in that area, which again allows the consciousness to find itself in the center of the brain by rolling the eyes, in the throat by constricting the throat just a little, enough to feel that, by the heart by anchoring the shoulder blades together and down, and in the rootedness by anchoring at this Mula Bandha and then breathing in the belly. And then I have a specific breath work that I work with people opening and stretching open the solar plexus, which allows for greater capacity of our creative essence and a greater presence of the true essential self when we learn how to open that solar plexus by working with the musculature there. It's a little bit more involved than we have time for today, but definitely something that is beneficial for people to start to learn to use this entire system the way it's designed to be used. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Dr. Sue, we need to take a very, very short station break, and we're going to, in the few moments, I want all of you to go through those steps. And then we're going to be back in a couple moments with Dr. Sue Morter.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
As I'm sure you know, it is time to celebrate self-discovery and personal growth. But you know, your efforts have to be consistent in order to stay balanced and to overcome depression and fears. So, what new books are available? How do you stay centered? Elizabeth Joyce and her guests will help you find out. That's Elizabeth Joyce on Let's Find Out, Mondays at 6 p.m. on OMTimes Radio.
Imagine being fired because of who you love. Imagine being denied medical treatment because of who you marry. Imagine being evicted because of who you are. Millions of Americans don't have to imagine this. They have to live it. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against LGBT people. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Gill Foundation and the Ad Council.
This is Kara Johnstad, and we are back with Dr. Sue talking all about energy, medicine, and the voice. My question to you is that we were talking about the throat chakra, and you were sharing with us that you also use Ogive Breathing, which is a slight constriction. It's actually a constriction of the vestibular folds. And do you also work with a closing of the vocal folds? The vestibular folds, we often refer as singers to the false vocal folds. So it's a great way to hear and to hear the breath and to sense the breath. But I'm curious, do you also work with tones and anchoring through tone, chant, mantras?
Yes, songs? I do. Definitely. Yeah. It is tremendously valuable. And, you know, we're made of light. We're made of high frequency energy, the highest light. And light begins to compress itself. And as it becomes compressed, the very first thing that is generated is vibration, sound. So we're made of sound, vibration, and light. And as we allow that sound vibration to continue it to have an expansive role inside of our system, it contributes to us finding our wholeness, to experiencing our true nature. So the reason that I commented about the fact that I spent most of my childhood not speaking and not wanting to be spoken to and totally intimidated and afraid is because it's in so much contrast to what I'm living and breathing and teaching other people to do now. And it has played an integral role in my great awakening, where my third eye opened. I could see 360 degrees around me. I was suspended above the earth. The earth was about the size of a marble beneath me, and I was a ray of light, in a light so brilliantly bright it was 10 times brighter than the brightest day in the desert I had ever seen. And I knew that this is who we were. This is the truth of who we are, and that the degree to which we allow ourselves to breathe allowed for what I was experiencing in that moment to happen. Every time I took a breath, this beautiful pink, iridescent, translucent horizon would rise, and as I would exhale, it would just fall back so gracefully, like the giant wings of a stingray swimming under the sea in slow motion. Just this beautiful, beautiful, graceful movement with each breath that I took. And I was chanting at the time that this happened. It was the sound that was moving through my system that undoubtedly was what allowed my mind to still, because my mind wasn't needed as this presence was evolving, was awakening, was opening up. And as I was chanting, the mind tranced enough to stop so that I could literally experience myself beyond the mind, beyond the thinking, analytical, believing mind. And so because of that set of circumstances that were coexisting in the moment of this great opening that happened with me 20 years ago, I continue to chant and to work with opening the body and utilizing sound vibration from the inside out to do so. There are many sound vibrational frequencies with toning bowls and crystal bowls and things like that as well. The gong and chimes and all kinds of things that animate us and activate these frequencies within us. But my very foundational come from knows that ultimately it is that we use our own system as that instrument to allow for the greatest opening of all to be anchored and centered from deep within. And we can use these other tools to help train us what it sounds like, what it feels like to be in the presence of that, and then to try to teach ourselves to tone with it, to attune to these instruments is very, very beneficial as well. But yes, I use many chants and different tone frequencies in working with people as well.
Beautiful. I always I love to say a tone at one.
Yes,
it seems like that when we're in a tone, we're not in the past, we're not in the present, we are in that. I mean, we're not in the future. I mean, we are in that present moment, and it is so powerful for all of us to get to know our own voices, because we're communicating and expressing ourselves all the time with our voice. We are quantum beings, and a lot of people are getting used to that idea because we're conditioned to think that we're living in a linear world, that we're conditioned to think, exactly that, my childhood, and then the next step, and the next step, and suddenly I'm getting older, and we have all the schedules and all the to-dos. And yet it's so important for us to realize that we're energetic beings. Why is that so important? Is it just simply the fact that we can shape-shift our reality in many ways, that we are the creators and we can change the narrative?
Yes, Kara, I think that, we are quantum beings, and we try to force ourselves into a linear reality, and therefore we experience great pain because we're being put into a container that doesn't fit us. It's like 20 pounds of potatoes in a 10-pound bag. It just doesn't fit, So we will always experience the friction that generates as long as we continue to insist that the linear reality is the biggest reality for us, the one that is most complementary to our true nature. It will always create friction and therefore suffering of some sort. And so when we begin to accept what quantum science is teaching us, that we are generating our reality and that we're projecting it onto a movie screen and walking through the movie as if the movie is real, and that our job is to realize that that's what's happening, and that we can change the movie, and we can, shapeshift our experiences internally and externally at will, but also so that we have a constant ongoing awareness that we are truly cosmic in our presence, in our intelligence, and that the universal mind is our mind, and that we are not alone. We are completely connected all the time, and that everyone else is playing a role in our own unfolding, in our own conscious state, that everyone else is just a part of my own consciousness, and we're just interacting until we unify and awaken to the true self. And so when we see people operating in ways that we would never choose to operate, we would think, I'm not that. But do we operate in those ways upon ourselves, toward ourselves? Is there a part of us that judges parts of us? Is there a part of us that omits or denies access to another part of us, a part that judges, a part that isn't in the unity yet? And so we're supposed to be here utilizing this life experience to teach us about us, to teach us about our truest, vast, most magnificent nature. And as we begin to embrace that, we become such a beneficial presence on the planet, whether we're in front of people teaching them or working with, people in that kind of a role or not, whether we're just a conscious family member who now is no longer buying into the drama of our yesteryear and holding it as though it determines who we are today, when in fact it's actually holding us hostage if we do so, but that we learn that every experience in our lives in that linear transgression has been of service to waking me up. And if I choose to take it into that perspective, then I begin to embrace my past experiences instead of having to forgive them. I become grateful for them. And in that, I am gleaning information about my bigness. For instance, I had aspects in my life that were not so pleasant. I had abuses and abandonments, and I, like many people, and many people had much worse experiences along those lines as I. But what I know is that every time I came to realize who I was in the midst of those circumstances, it actually, in retrospect, helps me to understand my bigness, because I'm still here, and I came through that, and it is now serving me. And the perpetrator in circumstances of abuse, I'm actually grateful for, because had I not been through those challenging circumstances, I would not know who I am today like I do. It wouldn't have caused me to seek and to learn and to progress and to grow at the rapid pace that I did in my life once I became interested in that. And so when we can transform from processing life through a linear fashion to realizing that all of it was a soulful contract and a request at some level, and that we can truly take that and turn it into something of magnitude for ourselves and as a beneficial presence for others, that they learn by the light that we're turning on inside of us, and that we shine that light for others, that we might not be actively trying to teach them anything. And in fact, I suggest that we don't, but that we live in such a way that we emanate and we transmit a light because of our own healing that makes a way for other people as well.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful place to land at the end of this wonderful interview. We spoke in the beginning about this is a time, these evolutionary times. It is also, with all the grief that is happening, it's also a time of great awakening. And it reminds me of a call I was on this week where someone was telling me about the linear history and how history repeats itself and the falls of empires, etc. And I shared exactly that. We are quantum beings, and if we collectively wish to come and shift harm to harmony, if we want to hold the intent, I've seen miracles happen in healing sessions with 1, 2, 3 people, and my experience is it's magnified in groups. If we can, step into a meditative, beautiful, healing, joyful, blissful space, all things are possible for good. I mean, for good things. We are in a good moment.
Yes.
And that's what you mentioned at the beginning of the show. You said this is a moment also that we've arrived here for, we've come here for. And although birth was never, it's always a little bit messy giving birth to new things, but it's also very joyful and very blissful in many ways. There's many good things happening. Sue, how can people get more information, how they can work with you? You're doing trainings and I'm not sure how many workshops you're doing, but you are doing whole programs and courses. You have the book out there, the energy codes. Which homepage is best for them to go to?
Certainly. I have my website is drsuemorter.com. It's drsuemorter.com, and there is a healing transmission that I'm offering every month as well. That is free. I'm also offering free body awake yoga, which is anchoring the consciousness in the body during the yoga practice, the yoga asana, putting people in sacred geometries so that energies move through the body more easily. All of that is accessible on the website. There is also the gift that I'm bringing here, the awakening, the healer within, is along these lines that people have access to as well. I teach workshops all the time. And courses so often. I'll be bringing forth some new programs in the next couple of months that I wasn't planning on having, because I was planning on traveling and doing some other things in the next couple of months. But since travel is not happening, I'm going to be offering some additional programs that if people come onto the website and they sign up for some gifts that I have there, we'll certainly be able to inform them on upcoming things that are available if people are interested in learning and working with energy medicine as well.
Beautiful. That is a great gift also of these times. People are able to connect globally maybe they wouldn't be able to fly in and see you in a city for a conference, and now anybody who wants to can have access to this amazing information. So it's all, we are shifting, traveling at the speed of love, as I love to say.
Yes,
it's like we're just staying anchored and with that other thought, right? Sometimes we're more afraid of our light than we are of our darkness. So we inspire each other and empower each other to live the light beings that we are. Thank you, Dr. Sue Morter. It's been an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show.
My pleasure.
Blessings.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
for what you're doing in the world. Yes.
Thank you. Bye-bye.